I think that was quite informative and practical advice. Now, assuming that you put all of those kind of disciplines in place, actually your cash flow should naturally improve through spontaneous funding by getting your debtor monies in more quickly and perhaps managing your creditors in a slightly different way. But let's assume you implement these rules. You might find that there's still a gap for you to bridge between debtors and creditors, and your cash flow therefore will still require what we call, you need to bridge the gap, as we call it. So I think the most important thing in this type of situation is you need to plan ahead and you need to think what your financial needs potentially might be. Perhaps you've got orders in the pipeline, or you've got supplies coming in from overseas or whatever. As I say, plan ahead. You know the credit that you've got to give to your debtors, and you know the credit that you can take from your suppliers, and look at some way to fund that gap. And invoice finance, for example, can potentially look at that for you. We can release up to 85%, or any invoice finance company can release up to 85% of the value of your active invoices on an ongoing basis, as long as you're selling on a business-to-business basis, on what we call a supply and forget basis. In other words, you're manufacturing a product or providing a service, there's not necessarily a contractual nature to what you're doing, then you can raise cash on that basis. And you can reinvest that immediately into your working capital, into your own food chain. If you then implement the credit management processes that Diane has talked you through, or we can come in, or someone like us can come in and help you with the credit management side of things, then the money will start to flow on a more regular basis. The cash you generate from invoice finance can most definitely differentiate you from the competition in a challenging environment, which is what we find ourselves in at the moment. And as you grow and reinvest in your business, and as you grow and reinvest in the marketplace, obviously you're showing the competition a clean pair of heels. And as I often say, that's one less ball for you to juggle when you're out there. Also look at financing or releasing cash against the other assets in your business. Your debtor book is not the only asset in your balance sheet. You can look at the dirty word's property, but you could look at property potentially. You could look at fixed assets in terms of plant and machinery, and kit, IT kit, whatever it happens to be. You might be able to do some sort of sale and lease back there, or indeed just appropriately finance new equipment coming into the business. Neil will talk to you about potentially financing your supply chain or your stock potentially. Just look at the different aspects of your balance sheet and manage the liquidity in your business better. And that's another thing crossed off your list, and another less thing, I suppose, to worry about. In terms of suppliers, Neil will undoubtedly talk to you in a bit more detail about funding on the supply side of things, but always remember that there is a supply chain in there, and there are solutions to fund the supply chain, whether it's just simply documentary credits or letters of credit, or some sort of fundamental paperwork in place in order to manage goods coming inward, maybe from overseas, and putting a more disciplined approach there. There are also funding solutions that you can look at on that side of the transaction, which I think is often forgotten about actually. But in terms of managing your cash flow, we always say in the office, it's womb to tomb. It's right from start to finish, from raw material right through to end product. A strong supplier relationship leads to respect in the marketplace, and that builds your reputation. So if you've got the working capital, positive liquidity, managing your business properly, that builds your reputation, and that actually is an intangible in your business which is priceless as you go forward. Paying on time in terms of your suppliers, as we've said here, can allow you to have bulk or settlement discounts. It allows you to buy bigger, better, further away, so you can look at maybe enhancing the gross margin on that side of your business by buying differently from your suppliers, and secures your position as a key customer. There's an old saying, do unto others as you would have done. You know, that saying, if you pay your suppliers in time and you manage your debtors well, the cash gap in the middle becomes smaller. Just if you will indulge me for a couple more moments before I pass on, just to give you a little bit of background, because we were sitting exactly where you were 2 or 3 years ago, trying to fundraise, trying to manage our own internal finances and everything else. But we managed it by getting funding from a Dutch bank. Funny enough, we didn't get money from a local Northern Ireland bank, but we got funding from ABN AMRO, the part that's not owned by RBS, I might point out. As at the end of May, which is our financial year end, so just last Friday was the end of our second year, we had 25 million out to customers on a revolving basis. That's new money into the Northern Ireland marketplace for SME business owners like yourselves. As Diane said in the video there, we fund locally, we manage locally, and we make decisions locally. So Diane and I are the decision makers, along with a couple of other board members in Belfast. We are very positive about what we do, we are very passionate about what we do, and they're not just buzzwords. We actually really do believe that Northern Ireland is a great place to live and work, and we're very conscious that it's important that we refinance the Northern Ireland marketplace as best we can. Yes, we've won some awards and all the rest of it, and that's very nice because it's peer awards and all the rest of it, but that's just a piece of glass that sits on a desk. It's actually what we do for our customers on a day-to-day basis that really makes a difference, and thankfully you saw some of them saying very kind words about us there. But actually the importance of that video really is that they have made the changes within their business. Yes, we played a part in that, but they made the changes in terms of disciplined approach to credit management, in terms of managing their working capital, in terms of planning, outsourcing their credit control if they needed to, and brought in some of the other specialists that you'll meet today to actually help them to structure their business properly. It does sound a bit dull when you say it like that, but the theme of today's workshop was about juggling, and it is about juggling all of those obligations, but actually if you get it right, like ourselves, you can grow a business and you can get through and past the negativity and the doubters, and it is worth the pain at the end.